can replace the CEO with AI, no issue. You can create strategy and maybe a sounder strategy without political haggles.
Currently, the most vulnerable roles are overrepresented by women workers. Either they're not proposed promotions, but they stopped even asking those promotions.
Which side do you want to be on? Do you want to be the victim and say the world is so mean to me? We need more mature leaders, putting judgment into the equation. For 25 years, I've been fixing broken transformation projects. I was speaking at the Peter Drucker forum last year that acknowledged me as a thought leader globally. So the people I have trained, almost 70% get promoted within 12 months. They realize that they are not the victim of a system. So what I call it is human infrastructure. Darwin at this point is wrong because it's not survival of the fittest anymore, it's survival of the wisest. How do you bring adaptive agency to the game?
We should try to bring away the blame and put our big boy pants on and just do the damn thing, right?
Transformation is evolution. We cannot shortcut it.
I feel evolution, it's never nice to be in, but it's necessary.
Two things can be true at the same time. And in the space between these two things, it's where the best questions lie. This is what I want to do in every episode. I take something that feels personal and I trace it back to the structures behind it. The goal is to come out clearer on the other side on what's actually going on. Subscribe now so you don't miss what's next. This is No Wonder.
All right, everybody, welcome on No Wonder. Today we're here with wonderful Barbara Wittmann, and we're going to discuss so many new and very present topics, varying probably from AI, but also work culture. And I think what's going to be more important in our conversation is going to be empathy and how we bring this part of us, this part of how we deal with emotions into the workplace and outside of the workplace. I would like Barbara to introduce herself because she surely can do it better than I ever can, and to tell us a little bit more about yourself.
You think I can do it better than you, but let's give it a try. So my name is Barbara Wittmann. Maybe for all the younger listeners here, I feel a little bit like the dinosaur. I just turned 50 this year. So, I'm on the older spectrum. I currently live in Loveland, Colorado. I've been here for 10 years, born and raised in Germany, and I moved here for love. And now I'm spanning the globe with the work I do. And for 25 years, I've basically been fixing broken transformation projects, working in an IT domain where I was usually sometimes the only woman in the room. And recently I've pivoted, and I am now with the Digital Wisdom Collective teaching humans how to align with the co-workers of AI that we are creating and how to tackle complexity.
So to give us a little bit of an introspect in your expertise, what would you claim to be one of the highest achievements that has brought you where you are here right now?
The highest achievement, oh boy, that was speaking at the Peter Drucker forum last year. That was really one of my highlights because that acknowledged me as a thought leader globally.
For people who don't know what the forum is, can you just tell us in a couple of words?
Yeah, so Peter Drucker was one of the management gurus, basically, and he defined a new way of working. And he was shaping that people are important. And every year now a forum happens where global thought leaders get together. It's super interesting, and new trends and new ways of doing things are discussed.
So you said something that piqued my interest there. You were talking about how people are important. In 2026, it's starting to become a really hot topic, I would say, in a sense, right? It's starting to get a little bit even scary on the importance of people. So what are you doing right now with Digital Wisdom Collective? Why right now?
So why now? Because technology is evolving at a crazy pace, and the new AI models are coming out basically every day, new functions and such. And what we have totally neglected is upgrading the people. So upgrading the people meaning not to dump more knowledge on top of them, but to we need more mature leaders. We need emotionally mature people. We need wise people across the generations who are putting judgment into the equation. Because if we are losing judgment, we are trusting the AI too much, and AI is a wonderful thing. It's gonna change the way we work entirely, but in order for the AI to really find its place properly, we need to learn as people what we're really good at.
Is there a way that you kind of describe this whole new almost branch of activity, since we are forgetting about the human?
So what I call it is a human infrastructure, that every company next to a technology infrastructure needs a human infrastructure, and it needs to be tended to just like we would tend to technology. For technology, it's a very normal thing that we upgrade it on a quarterly basis or sometimes on a monthly basis. But for humans, we think that once a year training is going to suffice, and that's not going to be the case anymore. And also with an infrastructure, it is all interconnected. So we need to learn how to, collaborate, how to be better together.
That's definitely something we all hear, right? Like the being together, better together. How do you put this into practice? Because right now, to me, sounds a lot like a more complicated HR department.
I'm not tackling the HR department. I am truly talking to the IT person, and I usually come in when there's a big IT initiative, either planned or already going, and that could be a big system upgrade or a big AI initiative, and that's when I'm hired in by the IT person. And what I do, I decipher complexity. That's my first step. So what I establish is maps, and that's what we used to have in the olden days. That we could go places. We had a map to say, "I'm here. I want to go here." Um, so I establish what I call a shared mental model, that everyone's talking about the same thing. And once that is done, I offer to train a group of people within the organization that is actually executing this new project. So, that's in the middle of the organization. People get trained, they learn new ways of understanding problems. They get a mindset upgrade where we also think in new ways. And they learn how to solve problems together and how to collaborate better. So it's a closed group. It's usually for 4 months. And then to continue upgrading those people, they are joining our collective. And that's basically a space where leaders from all different industries are getting together. And they're doing the same thing we did within their organization, but just in a training sandbox, so to speak. And they get different angles, different opinions from different industries. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell.
So I'm going to preface this by saying I have previously worked in an IT company. It was here in Europe, and I lived it in a way that it was very male dominated as a field, right? Is this something that you still see today in the US?
Yeah, it's still, I mean, women are coming up in the ranks, but it's still a lot of guys. And I never saw it as a disadvantage to be a woman in the industry, to be honest. And I always stood out as being different, bringing a different angle to things. So I very much am in favor of bringing both genders into the equation, and I actually think that's going to be really important. Also, coexisting, co-creating with AI, because we need both angles. We need the male and the female, but we need both to stand in their strengths. If you have women trying to be men, it's not working.
The way I was prefacing the question by asking if there was any gender disparities is because in my mind, the work that you start to do within a company sounds a lot less technical and a lot more personal. When you walk into the boardroom, when you start presenting the work that you're going to do, how are you greeted?
I'm friendly. Usually they are happy that I'm there because I'm fixing a problem, right? If I'm I mean, usually companies have spent a ton of money into technology, and so a lot of money is wasted. So if I can fix the people layer and make things go more smooth, they really appreciate that.
And when you say fix the people layer, what exactly do you mean? Because to me, it's still a little bit not super clear. What are you fixing? What exactly is currently broken?
So in every company, there's a couple of people in the execution layer that are the main drivers for project success. And you can usually single them out by, several traits that they are bringing in. And they are usually the ones that are trusted the most, that people go to for advice. But they usually don't really have a voice. If they say, hey, I don't think this is working so hot, they usually don't really get listened to. So what I do, I pick the perfect people, I put them into a training group together, and I strengthen basically their authentic or how they show up authentically. So basically, I give them a voice. And I give them the voice and the tools to do so. So, what companies are getting is that they basically have an early warning system in the execution layer with people trained like that. And, the C level, if they are smart enough, they can really listen to them and say, oh, right, maybe we need to rethink something here.
And you were telling me that most often is within system that include a lot of transformation within a company. So I would say in the most recent times you would have faced a lot of AI transformation.
We're not in the transformation stage yet with AI, because AI to me is still something that people play with. Yeah. So a lot of companies have not really rolled it out entirely, like in a big scale. And having ChatGPT for everyone doesn't really count. So yes, it would be a transformation with a big piece of technology, and hopefully AI going forward. But AI right now is still in the infant stage to me.
So if you were to give just a couple of words judgment for AI in your case,
With every big shift in how we work and just using easier things, it's always been a huge shift. So you can compare it with back in the day, the farmers used the oxen to plow the field, and then the tractor came along, and everyone thought it's oh my god, the world is going to go down. So that's how I view it. It's a new way of making things easier, making things more productive, and it's an amazing thing. And of course, it needs to be used for good. So that's why we need to have smart people at the helm to make good decisions, because what we are deciding right now, and how we're using AI, is going to influence next generations and also the planet.
so I'm going to preface this by saying that there are currently some biases existing within the models of AI, right? Um, have you, first of all, ever witnessed it yourself? And then I'm going to follow up with asking about the processes.
Of course, AI can hallucinate with things, but it's that's where judgment comes in. That's common judgment. I can't take everything and trust it fully, but then also, question back. Have you ever met people that were telling you things that were not true?
Oh, yeah, that's definitely going to happen. But I believe that in most cases, if somebody tells me something that is not true, it's because they have a second intent behind it. Unless they're blatantly wrong, then in that case, I can't do anything about it. But I don't want to think that AI is malignant, at least, at least in its own neural network of creation, right? I wanted to bring the question to the processes that you're addressing. So, could potentially the spokesperson that you're, in a sense, creating within a company now also be useful to warn in case something is not wanted, if it analyzes some bias, sees something within a company? Is it something that is trained to do, or at least knows how to recognize?
Well, that would be a human skill that, of course, can be trained, but then needs to be practiced, right? But you can only stand there firmly and question even AI results if you know who you are and what you're good at. So if I'm questioning my own competency, I would much more easily trust what AI is telling me because I'm insecure. If I put a person in there that is secure and knows what they are talking about, and that's essentially what we're training, then you can judge easier if AI is telling you the truth or not. And there's not 100% safeguard, but that's why we have several people, because one person cannot make the call. So you need to have really a group of people who is looking at things critically and is judging from their experience, and also questioning some stuff.
How does one train confidence, though? That sounds something that it should be innate, like either you have it or you don't have it.
That's not how it works. So it really is a mindset thing. I mean, we all grew up with certain things. We all grew up with certain biases, and experiences shape us. So, for example, you had a presentation at some point and that didn't go so well, and you are saving in your head that you can't present. And whatever you're presenting, people are going to rip it apart. So confidence is not innate, built into us. We are shaped by experiences. So with the mindset training we are doing, you have to dig a little deeper within you and say, okay, so what may be something that is blocking me from looking at the full picture? And what are limiting beliefs that I implanted in myself, not even knowing about it? And how can we reverse this? So no, confidence is not God given. It is as a baby, but then stuff happens.
I mean, maybe confidence can also very much come from so like social proof. That's the word I'm looking for, right? Do you work with social proof at all?
So social proof, meaning that somebody else finds you great and pushes you. If you don't have confidence in yourself, if you don't believe in yourself, why should other people believe in you? So if you're building your entire career on social proof, that may work for a little bit, but not really. You will bump against some wall at some point, because not everyone is going to be your friend.
I think the first time we spoke, we really brought up the confidence topic when it comes to women employees, which even talking with different guests on this podcast is a topic that recurs, right? Statistically speaking, it's safe to say that women feel less confident than their male counterpart. Is it something you see as well in your field?
Yes, but I think that's a real advantage for women because they are willing to look at themselves faster than a male would. In the trainings I do, the women dive deeper into the workbook content and are more willing to really question than the male. And so I think that is an innate advantage for us, and we need to use it for ourselves.
How does one do that? Like, I am insecure and I have in front of myself a book on self-development, let's say. How should I read this book? Because this book is probably gonna give me a bunch of actionable insights on how I should do things. But is that enough?
It's never enough because it is something that needs to be done constantly. So self development and really going beyond your insecurity is not something you read a book about. It can give you a good starting point, but then it's about how you're using it in every day. So a book can give you a great impulse, but then what is the execution about, and how deep are you into it? Are you going to lose interest in 2 weeks from now, and then you're falling back into the old habit? So essentially, it is like pulling weeds out in the garden. If you don't get the full root, it's going to come back. So, if you're pulling something out, what are you filling it with? So the easiest to start here, and that's the starting point we always take, is what are your personal values? And the values is something that is grounding you, that's rooting you. And this is something, if you're aware of, that's where you can build a whole lot of things on top of it, even how you make decisions.
Do you notice any difference between male and female values to begin with? It's just a genuine question coming from myself. It doesn't. You can just tell me they are exactly the same, and I'm gonna be perfectly happy with that answer. It's just that I was asking myself if the way we are socialized in a gendered way changes our values in the workplace.
It doesn't really, because what I have witnessed with all the people I've trained is that we all gravitate around trust and respect, and that is something that is similar between male and female. Then how we communicate may be a little bit different and what's important to us, but what we are rooted in, that we want to be seen and respected, is always the same.
So that is quite interesting, because I feel like in the common media, in a sense, there's always this like scary narrative that the man is more individualistic and the woman is more, she's supposed to be the family oriented one. Does this dichotomy reflect in any way in your field?
Again, the women are at an advantage because we were basically installed with things like multitasking. That's in our DNA. We are amazing listeners. We show empathy. So we have skills that are badly needed right now. And it doesn't say that we don't need the male skills. We need to find a way to merge it. Um, I have found much better success in groups that are mixed, not just by male and female, but also in different age ranges, because we need the different perspectives.
Okay, so women have this more innate, or honestly, not a scientist. I don't know if it's innate, if it's socialized, if it's given by the books. Let's say that there is, doesn't really matter where it comes from, but on a general basis, there are some what you just called, let's say, advantages. Um, I am feeling, however, that up until this point, these were not considered advantages, right? How do you see this shift happen? When did it start? Where do you see it going? What do I do with this?
Well, first of all, we as women have been trying to get you know into the male traits way too long. We've been trying just to mimic what our successful male peers were doing, and that was wrong. And I mean, hey, I did it for a while. That's you were just kind of trying to fit in. But it's about really standing in our own power and bringing out what we are really good at. And that maybe something we grew up with, that if you want to work in a certain line of work, you have to do certain things. But it was also about you were just seeing and mimicking because you didn't really have a role model for that. And it took me a very long time to actually come to the point where I'm like, hey, this is not working for me anymore. um, and yeah, I mean, I came out better on the other side. But if I can help a younger generation to not have that learning curve, great.
So, if you were to give me a 25-year-old, soon to be 26, that is starting into the workforce, right? Just a few years into my career, is there one belief that you think I should first, between all, remove from my mindset?
Oh, I'm sure you have it because hey, I grew up in Germany, you grew up in Italy. I mean, every country is putting just culturally some stuff in you, and that is no ill intent, by the way. It just happens. So, um, in Germany, I heard a lot of times women don't do that. And that's, shaped me because I was supposed to be a certain way and to raise a family and everything. And hey, guess what? I didn't check all the boxes. So women can do anything. That would be the first thing to start telling yourself, because if we tell ourselves so many times a new thing, we start believing it. It is starting to become reality. So essentially, what we think about shapes us. The other thing is, I was always looking at other people and how much better they are, and I was always comparing myself, and I wasted so much time and energy just comparing. So look at what you're really good at and make it bigger.
So how does one stop comparing themselves? Like, like everyone, like we are made to compare each other, aren't we?
Are we? That's a belief. So, so if you look at nature, if you look at a forest, do you think that the little flower that's standing next to the big tree is saying, "Oh man, that's like, God, I feel so intimidated." It's like, doesn't really care. The flower is like, "Hey, I'm cool. Yay." Um so, it's how we view the world. It's we are all part of a system. If somebody else is better at something, I would applaud that person and say, great. How can we make each other better? How do we fit together? So we are always looking at what we don't have, and we don't acknowledge what we have. So you may be good at something the other person can't even touch.
This might sound like a huge jump from what you were saying, but please bear with me because in my mind it makes sense. So in the McKinsey report, I'll pull it up on screen if people then want to go see it. But in the recent McKinsey workforce report on gender, the overall sentiment of corporate America is of disincentivizing advancement of women within the workforce. They're not proposed promotions, but they stopped even asking those promotions. So, coming back to what you were saying about comparison. So, this came to mind because we were talking about how the flower doesn't compare itself to the tree, right? And I am good in my own position and somebody else is good in their own positions. When does it stop, though?
That you don't have ambition, but it's about acknowledging, what you are good at. If you keep looking around and thinking, oh man, that other dude got the promotion, well then, did you ask for it? You know, so it's like, we are the maker of our own fate. If the company doesn't promote me as a woman, well, then, maybe I have to take my own learning in my own hands, and, I have to pick up the books that are advancing me, and maybe I have to take a class on the side. But, when did it happen that we think that our life and our joy and our advancement is going to happen from an external source? It's not happening.
But should I stop looking for it in the workforce then? Or should I not?
Well, you can look for opportunities in the workforce and just start, seeing, where you could advance yourself. I give you another statistic. So the people I have trained, almost 70% get promoted within 12 months because they realize that they are not the victim of a system, that they realize that they can create within their own means and in their own power.
I think this is very important to try to get more to the bottom of it. So where does the system and the individual both start and end within the same group, right? Because to me, it's something that I'm going to be very honest with you. It's something that is really troubling for me to really understand, even doing this podcast, right? Um, since I'm always here trying to highlight whether the system is failing, the person is failing, the conglomerate of the system and the person are failing, in order to then do something about it. I feel like sometimes I'm just pointing at the bad guy at this moment, and then I just forget about it. But then I also tell myself I have agency within the realm of my humanity. And so if something doesn't fit with me, I should be able to change it within the realm of my humanity, right? But but when we are talking about much more complex systems than just maybe going to the cashier or just talking to another person, when we are talking about workforce and like big corporations, how much is me not taking agency and how much is systemic? I know it's going to be very hard to just say one thing, but is there anything I can do to try to scope out?
It is going to be very easy to say one thing, because it all works the same way. If you change you create ripples. When you throw a stone into the pond, it ripples out. And that's the same if you go to the cashier and you're friendly, or if you show a new behavior within the company. So, give you an example, because that's what I hear a lot, especially from middle management people. They're like, well, who am I to change something? That's all part of the strategy, and I don't influence that. Well, then you are in the victim corner, right? But in the realm of your work environment, you can make a difference. So, a system is a system if it's complex or not complex, so we shouldn't make a difference. And, the biggest trap we can fall into is the thinking of either or, because that's a linear thought. I'm either changing something or I don't do anything. So we need to start thinking in more of a circular way again, and really look at it not from an either or perspective, but say, okay, so if I am making small changes, what kind of small changes could happen in my work environment? And again, it can be a friendly gesture, or if your coworkers around you are just chattering about how bad things are, you can show a different opinion and say, actually, it's not so bad. How about we do this and that? Um, we always wanna be like the rah people and not being victim, but in truth, we are, and maybe in ways that we are not even aware. So, yes, we can make small changes, and yes, change ripples outwards. If you change something on how you're carrying yourself, how you believe in yourself, how you interact with people, it will show, it will make a difference.
Okay, I want to try with a thought experiment to build on this idea, right? Um, it's not me, but let's pretend it's me. I'm a middle manager, senior middle manager woman. I am aware of all of this noise of the biases within AI, the workforce biases. I've heard a million times about the gender gap. Um, I do not know how much of that applies to myself, but at the same time, I feel in the back of my mind that there might be something that it's not completely fair that is put upon myself, right? Um, how does one shift from the victim mentality of being like, oh, this is not going well because of the system, and actually does something to make sure that they get out of the victim mentality and can start a ripple effect?
So first of all, it's not a switch you flip and say, "Oh, tomorrow everything is going to be better." It's an ongoing change, and what I teach people is a pretty comprehensive curriculum, starting with values, and then looking at what are your thoughts, what are your beliefs, and you slowly start switching that, and also how do you see yourself? What is your self image? Because honestly, I let go of certain opportunities because I thought very little of myself, but other people saw a ton of potential in me. So it is a small and gradual change in many areas, and then it's about keeping it up, right? So you need to be willing to look at yourself and to really dig deep and say, okay, so who do I want to be? Also, who am I thriving to become? If you have a future picture of who you see yourself to be, it's much easier than to kind of work backwards and make corrections.
Do you have an example of a success story that you want to share or that you can think of a ripple effect that actually made the tide move?
Yeah, I mean, exactly what you were describing, middle manager, a woman, coming from a very different industry, not feeling safe in her seat, and, feeling played all the time because she was the last one in the food chain. She went through my training, and she actually turned it around and said, okay, so how can I make my work and also my department an instrumental piece of success in the entire chain? How do I not see myself as the last chain in the process? And she started putting a concept into place, presented it to her manager, and they granted her 2 new people to get hired. And by now, her department is instrumental in delivery success. So yeah.
That maybe we can replicate a bunch of times, I would say. How do you think AI is gonna affect the story? Is it gonna be a multiplier or maybe not?
So why do you say, how is AI gonna affect the story? Because the story is about somebody changing how they see the world, and actually and taking action. How is AI gonna change that story? It will change the story that busy work will be automated, and people, if they want to, have a better chance to step into actually creating something meaningful within their organization.
I'm also imagining somebody who is doing a certain type of task, and with the use of AI or the not use of AI, that can really change the way that they are gonna work, right? In the sense, not just talking about automation, but whether they're gonna be replaced by AI or not. I don't like. I was a little bit shy of saying it because that's a very like voodoo topic, right? But
For a long time, I was doing IT and technology innovation for retail stores, and that I have heard that question so many times, especially when I was doing the self checkout cash registers. Everyone was like up in arms, like, "Oh my God, so many people are going to lose their jobs." Yes, a certain fraction of people will lose their jobs because things can be totally automated. But then, if these people are willing to learn new things and bring their knowledge into new areas, there's also new jobs being created. So, again, we cannot be looking at things from an either or perspective. It's like, oh, everyone is losing their job, or oh my God, AI is so scary. Where is the middle ground where we can meet? Because this is an immense opportunity also for people to move into other areas where their skills and experience are actually valued, and you can put them to work better.
I see your point, and I appreciate it, and I stand by it as well. Um, that is my current belief in the context of AI. I refuse to be terrified by it. I use it on a very basic level for my work. And I believe that's what most people are going to do anyway. Because for now, I feel like the most advanced levels of AI are still not entry level for the average employee. Like you were saying, people have ChatGPT on their computer. That doesn't mean that they are AI integrated, right?
Exactly. Yeah, we're just We're just scraping at the surface. And a lot of companies will not be able to automate things massively with AI because they don't have the data foundation. They are still dragging around a lot of old baggage, also old technology systems that, how we are portraying AI being able to change your entire company. Not a lot of companies are there.
However, I would like to play a little bit of the devil's advocate, if you'll allow it. Because the way we just discussed about the jobs, like you can reskill yourself, you can do something else. Isn't it a little bit infantilizing in a sense? Let me explain. I am a person that has done the same job for a bunch of years. Yes, I can have all of the willpower that you want. I'm going to reskill myself. I'm going to create for myself a new career and all will be well. But wouldn't that be letting loose maybe the higher levels that are doing not much to care for the system as they should have been caring? Like I'm afraid that this kind of mentality, it's kind of like what everybody is saying about having the mushy paper straws with McDonald's soda, right? Like the world is burning, they are bombing each other, they are flying with jets everywhere, but at least I have my mushy paper straws and I'm doing my part saving the turtles, right? I think this is coming back to the point that we're trying to make before, where's the threshold between system and individual. Do you think, I don't like, personally, I don't think everything should fall on the end user, but as of yourself that you're more into the depths of it, how do you live this dichotomy and how can I live with it?
So you're basically saying the people executing need to shoulder the work and everyone above them is just kicking back. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's how it feels like anyway. I'm not saying that that's necessarily what is happening, but that's what it feels like. I feel like the highest top level management isn't going to get impacted that much about with the AI because they are the decision makers after all. But they're kind of being above everyone else and giving crumbs and mushy paper straws to the employees that need to reskill themselves.
Yeah, but again, that's your belief, right? So there may be companies that do it like that, and I think it's gonna filter out the ones that are, working ethically sound, and the system is kind of cleaning itself. But then you can replace the CEO with AI, no issue. You hey, I mean, you can create strategy and maybe a sounder strategy without political haggles, and you can maybe more easily replace the CEO. So I don't think any seat is safe. So everyone needs to upskill, and everyone needs to stretch on how to coexist and co-create. Um, so yeah, no, I don't believe that. And why are we always looking for a villain? In your question, you're trying to blame someone. Um, that's a very outdated thing.
Okay, so the what I'm getting from this now is that we should try to bring away the blame and put our big boy pants on and just do the damn thing, right? Instead of just like trying to.
Well, that's also a very black and white view, right? So we need to find a middle ground. That's what I'm saying. And yes, we all need to stretch and grow, regardless of the hierarchy level, because AI will question a lot of things, and we need to see what makes us good as humans and how we coexist and co-create with the machine, essentially. But what we need to drop is the black and white view, and we need to look at gray.
If I were to bring the data of the UN about the impact on AI on workers, and the automation. Especially, I would like to focus on the part of the automation that we discussed, right? So up until now, we said that there's going to be job losses, and the data is telling us that currently the most vulnerable roles are overrepresented by women workers, right? So right now, we talk to a woman that is scared that their job is going to be automated, right? Um, so this lady has in front of herself two contrasting messages. One message that just tells her you're going to be replaced, and the other message that tells her you should use AI, it's good for your productivity, right? How can we talk about this? I feel like this is, it's very hard to not to like to discern the blame, right? It's very hard to see the gray in this view.
Yeah, but again, which side do you want to be on? Do you want to be the victim and say the world is so mean to me? And, that we will always have advancements. If it's not AI, it's something different. AI is a massive advancement. When the internet came, stuff changed. So that is the way of the world in a way. Is it more massive than maybe everything else we've seen? Possibly. But yes, we and hey, if AI is taking your job away, then how could you gain a new job or possibly open a new business using AI? There's innate possibilities and opportunities in everything.
Yeah. And to then circle back to what you were saying, our example is still the same lady that is at threat of losing her job by being automated. In your in our discussion, you highlighted a few skills that she could put into game. Can we like try to tell this person what she can actionably try to do?
So I would tell that person to really look at and kind of trace back the career and really see, what are the things she's proud of, what are the big wins, and try to find the red thread of, what her superpower is, what made her good at what she does. Maybe it's not the putting boxes away in a warehouse. Maybe she always thrived at getting all the coworkers together and rallied around a common cause. So there is a little bit of looking back needed in order to go forward, and then ask the question: okay, so what did I always wanted to do? Maybe that person never wanted to work in a warehouse. It's but that goes back to what are the values that you grew up with. What's important to you? Is it important to you to spend a ton of time with your family? Well, then maybe you use AI to create your own business from home. It's all about what you choose to see in a situation. And and this will not apply to everyone. Some people will be, well, the world is unfair and this is not cool. And it it's all within the individual how they see things and if they actually take it as an opportunity to take a different path.
As I understand, you work more with mid-level, I would say, right? So not necessarily entry level, but from an outsider view, because knock on wood, right now, a job for now, I have it, but I don't think it's only entry level jobs that are currently a bit shifted in the market, but it's kind of all levels. Um, is there anything in your realm of activities that could be useful for somebody that is looking for a job right now? Because I was coming back to still the reskilling and the upskilling, right? I believe that the current, like my understanding at least of the current market, it's a bit of a it's a bike that is on fire, running on ground that is on fire, and the person on the bike is on fire, right? Like that would be the best representation that I have of the current job market, right? And I was wondering if is there anything in your expertise that you know could be of an advantage to display forward within a recruitment process to show that even if you're in your mid-career, you're still in a competitive advantage compared to your peers, let's say?
It comes back to very, very simple things. Talk to people, build a network, tell people what you want. People are not going to read on your nose if you want a promotion, if you're looking for a different job. Build a network of other professionals and peoples, and don't just sit on the computer. Talk to people. That's going to get you farther than you think. Um, if you're applying today, some AI bot is going to single out your application or not. So you will have a better chance just being well connected with real people. And yeah, no, and I'm not sharing the fatalistic worldview that you're bringing to the table here. There's always ways, and maybe we have to go back and resort to very simple things that worked for people before our age category.
Can you elaborate a bit more on those things?
Working and talk to people, build relationships, build trust, and it's like building a relationship. You want to tend to it, you want to foster it. And no, you cannot go into the first networking meeting and tell everyone that you're desperate looking for a job. May not be the good way, but let's bring it back to very simple worldly things. Do you jump in bed with somebody you just met 5 minutes ago? So it takes some time. It's about building relationship. It's about building trust.
So we are talking about a change in attitude, I would say. It's mostly a change in attitude at the end of the day, because the same way I'm writing stuff on a resume, I could just telling it out loud to somebody instead of just typing it out, right? Um,
No, again, no, wait. Let's go back here because you are starting to think in either or again. Instead of typing it out, I'm going to tell somebody. No, it's a combination of many things. Yes, you still have to have a resume, but maybe you talk to somebody and you find the entry point there to then send the resume. You understand what I'm saying?
it's a whole lot of restructuring then that has to happen within the mind of somebody that clearly, like me, has a black and white mentality and I didn't even know it. Great. You always learn something. Doing great for my self-esteem, like you were saying before. No, I'm joking. No, but so we're talking about restructuring, right? Um, if we could restructure something, if I like to ask this question because it allows people to think that they have a magic wand and they can do something, and it's always very fun answers. So if you have a magic wand in your work right now, and you could either restructure an architecture that you don't think is currently working, or oh, perfect, you even have the magic wand. That's amazing.
You know, yeah.
The flick of a wand, you could change something within your scope of activity. It can be anything. It can be your clients. It can be, the way your clients behave or the way the industry is shaped. What would you change?
Man, I don't believe in magic wands, and I have it because I usually give it to clients because they do believe that, they can do something with just a tap of. Honestly, I wouldn't change a thing because I love evolution, and I love a process, and transformation is evolution, and we cannot shortcut it. We cannot jump through things. That is a shortcutting that is very human, and that's what we were brought up with. It's like, again, either or thinking. No, evolution is circular. We go through certain stages, and sometimes evolution is not fun to be in. So no, I'm good where I'm at, and I'm evolving every day. No magic wands.
I think it's a very powerful statement, the one that evolution is not always nice to be in. I feel evolution, it's never nice to be in. If you look at like the way evolution is displayed right now, even with how Darwin displayed evolution, that's a scary thing to be, but it's necessary, fortunately.
But Darwin at this point is wrong because it's not survival of the fittest anymore, it's survival of the wisest. So, how do you play your power within? And it's not so much about, the how much muscle you bring.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the survival of the wisest and what the point of view that you bring forward?
Well, right now it's not so much about how much I know, how much knowledge I have accumulated. It's more about how do I put everything I know into play. And it's the same as we discussed. You have to talk to people, then you send the resume. So how do you actually use all the skills you have in your head, combined with empathy and other things that are increasingly important? How do you bring adaptive agency to the game? And that is really using everything best you can. And that's why I believe survival of the wisest is top of mind these days, because it's not so much anymore of where you grew up and where you come from and the university you went to. It's about how you're actually using what you have.
We talk a lot about agency, right? Whether we are the agent of our own will and our own future, or the agency in general, right? So adaptive. So we need, if I were to try to dissect this word, I need to have ownership of my own actions, but adapt those actions to the circumstance I am in correctly.
That would be a good description. And yeah, we need to be
Agents, like if I remove the word adaptive, it would just act on my will. Whereas with the adaptive, I need to merge the current ecosystem I'm in with my will.
exactly. If you're just bringing your will, it's pretty egotistic, right? Adaptive agency is what are people around me doing, and it's more about yes, knowing who I am in the system, but also looking towards others and use the collective.
People have heard a lot of you right now, but if they wanted more, where can they engage with your work and your thinking further?
So the easiest place to follow my thinking is on my Substack. You can go and visit my website, digitalwisdom.co for Colorado. But honestly, a lot more content is in the Substack because I write there weekly.
With that, I want to thank you wholeheartedly for this conversation. I think I poured more of myself into this than I usually try to do in these conversations, because it was such a interesting topic, I would say, that I wanted to bring more out of the women in the conversation and try to be more like, oh, I am a woman, so maybe people think like me.
Yeah, no,
Right?
it's good. It's good. Yeah. And thanks
So
for being vulnerable, and thanks for me being able to push back a little bit at times.